Oh, leave.
Oh, oh no. Oh no, what happened?
Here we are, Tech Times, the Tech Talks. I'm Ryan Epps. I'm here with Chris Short
What's up?
and Christian, and we're
Hey
talking
guys,
about the news today. What you got for us today, Christian?
our first topic is a number of series and movies will be removed by Disney from their respective streaming services, Hulu and Disney Plus. The move comes after it was revealed that Disney Plus has lost 4 million subscribers for the first 3 months of the year. Disney is expected to pay an impairment charge of 1.5 billion to 1.8 billion dollars for the removal. Chris, what could have contributed to Disney Plus's significant loss of subscribers, and could the removal of some of their content worsen their situation?
Uh I mean, I think it's a widely repeated phrase within a certain political group, and I think it holds a lot of weight in this one, which is go woke, go broke. Like
Interesting,
they've
interesting perspective.
they've they've pushed a lot of stuff over the last year or so. They've sided, which I think historically, and maybe just on a very common sense level, if something is as divisive as, you know, the woke agenda, or, you know, being conservative, then as a major corporation you would not choose a side either way, right? You should try to kind of play the middle
Hmm.
and just ride it out or whatever. But Disney was full on with the, you know, same-sex characters kissing, first gay kiss in a Disney. Like, who gives a shit? Nobody really cares about that. And I think for most of practical blue collar people that subscribe to Disney Plus, people that look forward to taking their families to Disney every year, they're the kind of people that doesn't really care about those things, so much so that when Disney tries to push it on them, it's a turnoff. And it's like, well, cancel this, not going to Disney next year. Next year we'll go to wherever else, somewhere. I think maybe that's what happened.
Off of that, the new Ahsoka show, or no, not Ahsoka, the new Acolyte show, for Star Wars. One of the directors came out and said that one of the characters will be, I think, lesbian or LGBTQ or something of the nature, and that's fine.
Mm.
And so long as it like adds a interesting perspective to the character, and that actually there's character development there, and it's not just that is their character. um but like what you said, that shouldn't matter, right? Who the
Mm.
character is having sex with shouldn't matter, especially when Disney's products are primarily targeting kids. So
Right.
it's a little weird. It is a little weird with that kind of stuff. But this whole situation reminds me a bit of like what happened to Vice News. How Vice
Mm.
News was very much like this cool player with news and doing some cool stuff, and then all of a sudden went into this whole GOP bashing stance over the course of maybe, I don't know, 4 years, and their whole backers were GOP, Republican, conservative types. So they're literally ripping on their own, investors essentially, which isn't good. It isn't good. And I think Disney is kind of getting a wake up call in a sense.
Mm.
They can't be on top forever. They cannot, with Marvel, even Star Wars, both of those in their wheelhouse, they're not going to be major players forever. But a similar thing was happening with HBO as well. I know that's a very different subject, I guess, but HBO had gotten rid of Westworld, ton of different stuff too. Even Batwoman, a movie that they were planning to release, they just outright canceled it over all of this for tax exemptions and stuff. So Yeah, it's it's a weird time, especially because the economy is kind of in the dirt. So
Mm,
there's a lot of different factors. It's a lot of different factors, but definitely the way that they approach their content definitely did not help. I mean, just
right.
look at the sequels to Star Wars. Just look at you know how they not just like how you know the fans reacted, but also how they made money. Right, I think it was a downward trajectory essentially with ticket sales, and the box office just wasn't that great, especially with the last one, the ninth movie. So, yeah, I mean, it's just Disney being Disney. I feel like at this point.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I
I
think we
think
can all agree. This is, for better or worse, this is no longer a grandma or grandpa's Disney. But it's a
Yes,
different one. Like
yes.
for the past, I think not only this year, I think Disney forgot their identity when
mm,
it comes to their content. Like
Interesting.
before, as a kid, I've been watching Disney movies and I find meaning with every story that they told, with every content that they do. But for this one, just giving one example is the recent one that they did for Peter Pan,
mm,
where all of a sudden they felt the urge to change the personality of Wendy, which is really feminine in the original one, which
mm-hmm,
I think
Yeah.
was a good fit for the film on in the original, because it served the purpose of what was missing in that story, which was a matriarchal influence.
mm-hmm.
It shows the reason what happens to kids when they don't have an adult
Yeah.
supervising them, like making her into something that she wasn't actually intended for. I think actually the character's personality was completely lost. At least for me, because every movie is actually subjective. But that's what I interpreted as a kid. And if you're a kid, you're more attuned to sense that in a movie. Like as
Um.
a kid, we have an understanding. We don't know how things work in the world, but we know who our father and our mother is. So
Yeah.
that's the first thing you gravitate to. I think as an example of Peter Pan, Disney has forgotten the identity of their franchises
Mm,
Well, you can
in order
also
to
chalk it
cater
up
to the third
to
generation.
originality. Disney has lost its originality too.
mm,
Like the fact that they're pulling from Peter Pan. Like we've already seen Peter Pan come up with something different, right?
right.
Uh, Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid's coming out in live action couple weeks from now. Why? We've already seen it.
Yeah, they
You
still
know,
have
I'm all
originality. They still have originality, but the problem is they hid that originality on Disney Plus.
mm, yeah.
Like what was the last Pixar movie that was actually shown in theaters?
What's the one with Buzz Lightyear? I think, right?
Yeah.
And how
I
Wait,
was
think that was
that
the last one. I could, yeah,
wait.
not very good. It was not good.
Yeah.
received?
Not
The
very
last
good.
one that actually was well received was Turning Red, and they placed that on Disney Plus.
I don't even know what that is. I'm gonna be honest
It's
with
a
you.
good movie for those who still
Really?
haven't. Yeah, it is. I
Well,
watch
all
it
right.
with
This is like kind of off topic. What's everyone's favorite Disney movie?
Oh,
Disney animated movie. Disney animated movie.
Lion King for me. It's the
Treasure
first
Planet
movie
for
I
me.
think I was too young for Bambi, but I think Lion King is the first one that I actually watched that delved into death
Okay. Lion King's good.
and looked into mortality and
Lion
loss.
King's good.
I don't know. Damn, that's such a good question.
Have either of you seen Treasure Planet?
No.
I did, but I barely could actually remember it because it wasn't actually marketed that well.
Yeah. That's why I love that one. I love Treasure Planet. And
It
also
was
the Atlantis one's very good too.
There
I'll
was
say I
a
like the
theory
Atlantis
before
one.
that actually Disney was actually they didn't actually believe in the movie, then they covered the marketing for it. They tend to do it that way if they want to transition into a new medium, because they were
Yeah.
transitioning to 3D back then, and they were trying to move away
Mm-hmm.
from the 2D animations.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was the case. It's a serviceable movie, but I don't think it was given enough budget to be good. I think it needed a second pass during screenplay.
Nah, Treasure Planet's amazing.
It is, but it could have been much more polished.
What about you, Chris? Do you have a favorite Disney movie?
Uh, Probably, yeah. And it also it's a favorite Disney movie, and it's also my favorite spin-off cartoon that I would watch after school on the Disney Channel.
Okay.
Of course, the Jungle Book. I love the Jungle Book. I think it's one of the even the live action one was done really well.
Yeah, I like the live action
It
one. I
was
actually did. I
Mowgli,
actually like
right? Is
that.
that what it's called? It's called Mowgli or something. It wasn't exactly the Jungle Book, but it was Mowgli.
Mhm.
And but I used to watch was it Tailspin?
Yeah, Tailspin with Baloo.
I've never even heard of
Yeah.
that. Is that before my time?
They were transporters back then, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
courier.
yeah. It was all the characters from the Jungle Book, but they were more so like
Huh.
Baloo was like a freight pilot, and yeah, it
Yeah,
was a good ass show. I used to watch it every day after school. That one,
Tailspin. Hmm.
Rescue Rangers. I think Aladdin maybe was one. Yeah.
just to
Um,
piggyback on that, which Disney cartoons do you guys gravitate to?
Disney cartoons. I wouldn't even. I don't think I really watched Disney cartoons. I watched Cartoon Network, so I don't know if that. You know, I watched anime when I was a kid. I watched Dragon Ball Z. I watched Yu Yu Hakusho. Yu Yu
I
Hakusho.
don't know if you guys still remember Darkwing Duck.
I love Darkwing Duck.
That
Nope.
needs an update, right?
Man, they
Nope.
got to bring Darkwing Duck. You never seen Darkwing Duck, Ryan?
Nope. I don't even know what you're talking about. Never heard of it.
Oh man, do a quick Google search, bro. Darkwing Duck was the coolest.
Darkling Duck.
Yeah.
He's like a superhero slash
He's
Donald.
Disney's version of Batman if he was
Oh
part of
man,
DuckTales.
What?
yeah. Darkwing Duck was a badass.
And I remember playing the game on the
Or
Nintendo.
Dark Wing.
Yeah, Darkwing Duck. Yeah.
I might have seen like pictures of this guy. What is he just in the vault? No one cares about this guy?
Was that a spin-off uh of
He's a
DuckTales?
superhero. It's a superhero comedy. Yeah, DuckTales. You're absolutely right. Spinoff of the 1987 DuckTales series. Yeah, this is before my time. This is
Yeah.
before me. Well before me.
Yeah.
That was when Saturdays were actually really good because of the Disney Channel.
Yeah, Darkwing
Yeah,
Duck.
I didn't watch Disney cartoons. So I can't really say. I mean, I always tell people Treasure Planet's my favorite, just like animated movie, just because and Atlas. I don't know if you guys seen the one with Atlantis. God, it's so good.
Yeah,
Either of those movies are really good.
Wait, I think I did see this. Actually, I think I found this on YouTube, like the full
yeah.
movie.
What? Which one?
Treasure Planet or Atlanta is it the same characters in Atlanta,
No.
but they look the
Mm-mm.
same, maybe.
There is a sequel to Atlantis, though, I will say. So there's a sequel to Atlantis. It's not very good.
Going back, going back to that Darkwing Duck thing, it's not that Disney just keeps on repeating things. They just keep on repeating things that are unnecessary. Like
Yeah,
they have a lot of IP at their disposal.
I was gonna
They
say, um, they made Little Mermaid, she's a person of color in live action movie, which
Mm.
I do think people were giving it backlash and shit. I think that's fine. Like that's perfect
it's
in
fair.
my opinion. I think that's awesome. But I just think that I don't want to downplay that. Is my point. But I think retreading the Little Mermaid is not necessary. Is unnecessary essentially.
Mhm.
Um, just because we already seen the story, we already know these characters. Sure, there's a huge fan base, but I'm actually genuinely curious. Like, I'd have to look into the numbers, but I don't think the Lion King, like the live action remake, it didn't do really good at the box office, did it? I mean,
I
It's
know.
I'd have to
all
look.
CGI.
I watched it and I wasn't that impressed. It's like, oh, this is just the same.
It's the same exact thing.
It's live
Not
now.
necessarily just the same. Everything is just CGI. So it's just like it's realistic, right? So it seems like you're
Damn.
just watching a National Geographic documentary. But
Mm.
being that it looks so realistic and the animals talking, it kind of takes you out of the movie. It looked kind
It
of
actually
weird.
made a lot of money. Worldwide, 1.663
Yeah, it was a
billion.
success.
That's crazy. But it's Lion King.
Was it the first one they did? Was it their first live action remake?
I think
No, the
so.
first one was actually Cinderella.
Was it?
Oh.
Yeah,
What?
that was overseas, right? Cinderella.
I
In
don't even
terms of
remember.
that Little Mermaid, in terms of them reinventing themselves, I thought they were going in the right direction with Maleficent because that's still part of a franchise, but a
Mm.
different story could have been told. Let's say you do the Little Mermaid, but then you do an Ursula backstory. That could have been a
Well,
much.
I think a lot changed when Disney actually was when acquired Star Wars. I think a lot of their they wanted to focus on Star Wars for a long time, for a while, and a lot of their resources went to that. Not obviously not anymore, clearly not anymore, but I think over that period since buying Star Wars, they had to really invest a lot of their time and effort into that ship essentially. And it clearly didn't go the way that they had intended. Um it
Yeah,
just
and
yeah,
going
because of
back to
that.
this whole streaming thing, do you think these streaming companies, actually overspent when it comes to
For
buying
sure.
series? That's
I
why
mean,
they're actually
look
doing
at
this right now.
Amazon. Look at
Mm.
Amazon's Lord of the Rings series that was cost like $1 billion for them to make. And I know a lot of my friends love Lord of the Rings. They didn't even finish the series. So they, in essence, at least for some of the fans, Amazon didn't even spend enough to draw people in, right, or keep people
Mm.
invested. Um, at least, and that's just coming from a small subset of people that I know. You know, um, there are people who like that show, but clearly you don't need to spend $1 billion. Clearly spending $1 billion doesn't equate to a really good show or a lot of viewers, right? Same thing goes for just buying outright an IP. It's not really going to change. I mean, look at Disney itself. They already had Marvel. It's not like they needed Star Wars.
Mm. But I feel like Star Wars has a lot of potential for spin-offs, like The Mandalorian.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm
And
saying? There's
yeah,
so
don't
many
get me
stories to
wrong.
be told.
Don't get me wrong. I think they've righted the ship a lot since the sequels and stuff like that.
Mm.
Uh, but I think Disney's biggest problem is the writers. Funny enough, right? I think the writing at Star Wars is just and this goes back again to the character development that we were talking about before, the fact that they have to bring up sexuality and stuff like that,
Yeah,
and unnecessary stuff. It all comes down to the fact that the writing isn't that great.
right.
Yeah, you just have to take the recent one. I think for She-Hulk,
Oh, God.
that thing was critically panned for the writing.
But
Like there
Cringe.
are
I
elements
hate defending.
that
I hate defending Marvel. But Marvel's in a weird place right now with after Endgame. They're testing different stuff. Like WandaVision was like a huge new thing for them. She-Hulk, huge new thing. It didn't land the way that they had intended. Um, but at least they tried. I think like as I hate saying it sounds like I'm defending
yeah,
them, but they tried
WandaVision.
something new and it just didn't work.
WandaVision, I think it's still in their element. Like it still felt like a Marvel built franchise.
Mhm.
When it came to She-Hulk, I I think whoever wrote that didn't actually understood the character that she's actually writing for.
Yeah.
And there are different tropes there that you could have just removed and everything would still be the same. Like, I don't want to spoil this one for anyone, but I think a majority of people have already watched it. There's a scene there where Daredevil was actually given the chance to do a walk of shame. Like, was that
Mhm.
really necessary to drive the story along? No. Then why even
Not
do it?
really. No.
What
Yeah.
was that for?
Yeah.
It's not even that funny.
Comedy, right? Like that's like we can boil it down to the fact that it's comedy, and almost all the recent Disney, Star Wars, or Disney Marvel content has been like the Thor movie. The Thor movie was almost primarily comedy. Hell, even the new Guardians movie was a lot of comedy baked in. It was good. It was a good movie, but it still had a lot of comedy baked into it.
Mhm.
I think that's another big problem is Disney loves leaning on this comedic, funny stuff. It's like not everything has to be so funny and like
Right.
happy go lucky stuff like that. It's like I don't know.
Yeah, it started with
The
I think Thor Ragnarok, right? Because that's the story. If you look at it without the jokes, it's kind of dark.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
lost everything.
Hmm.
And going back to the entire subscribers thing, like, or with regards to Disney Plus, do you think a majority of lost subscribers just because the MCU is not in stable footing right now? Like a majority of them has actually needs to watch some series to actually follow the entire
I think
cinematic universe.
I think it's the whole just Disney package. Um, I think I don't know if we had spoken about it, but I know for a fact that Disney and Hulu are going to be, or Disney Plus or and Hulu are
Yeah.
going to be combined, correct? Um, I think a lot of the value that people find in Disney Plus isn't really there anymore.
Mm.
From what I know, people like watching movies on the service, but like so Ant-Man in the new Ant-Man movie just came out. I wouldn't be surprised if numbers go up a tiny bit just for
Mm.
people to like watch that at their homes as opposed to going to
I'm
the
watching
theater
it
or
right
whatever.
now. Actually, I'm like halfway through.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
like it?
Uh, yeah. I can't help but like I get kind of not distracted by, but like so Marvel has introduced both the multiverse and now the quantum realm, which is genius because now like for the multiverse thing with Spider-Man and the old Doctor Strange and all that stuff, there's no limits now on what they can do. Marvel can do like they can take these characters
To,
and put
to
them
their detriment,
anywhere
some might
to
say.
their
Like
yeah
it's a little bit getting too crazy, right?
yeah. The quantum realm is I don't know. It's more sci-fi than superhero.
Yeah, I just feel that putting content, let's say, just for the MCU particularly, or even Star Wars, just putting things in a series that tie to a movie, it feels like Disney is making us do homework before we actually enjoy the cinematic experience. But
If it's
that's
not
just
good.
my take on this. Like they
Yeah,
could
like
have just
She-Hulk.
or
She-Hulk was homework, right? Or Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel
Oh,
even feels like
the,
homework because it's not content you want to consume, but you feel
yeah,
like you have to just
or
to
you'll
understand what's going on.
yeah. Later on down the
Sure.
road, you'll be like, wait, what? Who is this? What? Like, oh yeah, this happened in like episode 3 of it's like who? Miss who?
Yeah.
the same thing with Star Wars, right? Which is kind of funny because among all of them, I think Star Wars has had an early spin-off before, but they did it with books and comics.
Mm,
So there are a lot of
Yeah.
stories that they pulled from, and
Yeah.
I don't think everyone, let's say just a common person who actually likes just to watch spectacles like Star Wars, would actually follow the timeline.
Yeah. Well, it's border. It's almost impossible with Star Wars just because of all the, especially with the extended universe stuff, the EU stuff.
mm,
It's like hard. It's hard for people who may have already experienced that stuff to get back into Star Wars because it might be confusing. Oh, this stuff isn't canon anymore. Like what? Like for sure. For
Well,
sure.
we
I
understand
mean,
what's happening for Disney, but what the hell is happening for the rest? Like for Netflix and HBO.
well, HBO is in its own bag of problems, right?
They need another
HBO,
Game of Thrones.
yeah, they've been losing money, well, especially with the whole merger with
Yeah.
Discovery Plus. That whole caused a lot of problems. I mean, DC's getting shaken up. HBO's in its own bag of problems right now. They just got rid of Westworld, which makes me mad. I loved Westworld. I'm like one of the few people that loved Westworld.
I watched a few episodes of that. That's the one with like the
Very good.
robots and the
Yeah, very
like the
heady show. Very much intellectual show. Like too
mm,
intellectual to a degree. Like too much. Yeah. So it's a similar thing, right? I mean, all these companies are doing their best to save money where possible. And Disney's kind of doing it in the shittiest way possible, right? I mean, like I said this before we started the show, but a lot of the content that they're getting rid of is due to the fact that like they don't have to pay residuals to writers. It's almost like a
Yeah.
slap in the face with the
mm,
WGA going on, the strike going on. But I mean, as shitty as it sounds, it makes sense. Like it kind of makes sense for them to offload all of this stuff, especially if it's not bringing in viewers or subscribers. What's the point? Now, my problem is Bob Iger saying they're going to up the price of Disney Plus. You're getting rid of all this content, now you're going to up the price. What's that? Like, okay, what? Like, why would I
yeah.
pay more for less? That's stupid. So it's like a weird conundrum with Disney Plus. It's like they're
Yeah.
trying to bring incentive without having any incentive. Now, if they actually do go through with this Hulu Plus, combination, they actually bring Disney Plus and Hulu together, then I could see the price going up, maybe a little bit, like making sense. That would make
Right.
sense. But right, as it stands, like what am I gonna pay? I don't know. Like I don't even have Disney Plus. I have my friend's Disney Plus, so I'm not even a subscriber,
Right.
you know. Yeah, so it's like I don't know. Even for me, I don't see a point to buy into Disney Plus because I don't have to.
Well, for me, I have Disney Plus, I have Netflix, I have HBO. Uh, and
I
I
say
know,
Hulu. I do have Hulu. I have
and
Hulu and HBO. Yeah.
I know I need to drop one of these.
Mhm.
Right. It's just practically like I don't need three streaming services. The problem is I like them each for different reasons. So I'm really looking for somebody to basically make a mistake so I can kind of make the decision for me. And if Disney goes up in price, they're done for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Bob Iger has said he wants to up the price and I mean bring more value in essence to Disney Plus subscribers, right? Um, it's like I don't know how much it is now. I think it's like $15 a month. I could be wrong, but maybe
How
10,
much is the
10, 15.
subscription for Disney Plus right now?
Let's see. I think it's 10. I could be wrong.
$10.
Yeah,
And I
something
think
like
Is that
that.
what it is?
the ad
Because you can
supported one.
also get Hulu with it and stuff. $8 a month, it says here. So yeah, about $9. $11 for ad free, which isn't bad. I will say that's not bad, but I don't know.
Yeah, and
I
their
feel
merger
like
would actually increase the price, right?
I feel like if they, well, the new season of Loki coming out, that I'm actually particularly excited for. But this is a whole different conversation. With the Jonathan Majors thing, it might mess things up for Marvel. Um, so it's one of those weird things. Like I'm very excited for Loki season 2, but everything with Kang and all that stuff might get changed now, just because of Jonathan Majors' situation. So Disney as a whole is like in a really weird spot, really
Hmm.
weird spot. I had mentioned this before the show, but they Disney cut off the hotel. What is it? It's Galactic Star Cruiser.
Mm.
$6,000 a night for 2 nights. I mean, 2 nights. I'm sorry. In this little bunker, no windows. It's like wasn't really like cost effective. No one's like buying into this, especially Star Wars fans. They don't want to experience that, especially at that price range. It's just like I don't know. It's just such a slap in the face.
I mean, who can really? You know what I mean? Like that's an insane. Who? Yeah, fans want something immersive, but I mean, for that price tag, I mean, it really should be like an incredibly mind blowing experience. Not just what I read was like you can maybe do some tasks or something.
Yeah, like it's like this little like an interactive story almost. Like even Ray and Kylo show up at the end of it, that kind of stuff. Very theatrical, very like you're involved with everything. Um, yeah. I mean, it seemed fun, but for $6,000 for 2 nights, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know if it's that fun.
I mean,
I also
where
have a question for you guys. We do understand that these are subscribers that are being lost, and we've already discussed it on the basis of it's because of the content, but how much is it is because of political reasons? Like they are already at odds with the right just because of the DeSantis shit,
Yeah, well,
and at odds
Bob
with the
Iger
left.
did
They're just
he did say some stuff to DeSantis, right? Like
yeah.
straight up, like we will pull out of Florida. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of it has to do with political stuff. But as I said before, I mean, Disney is primarily tailored to kids, and they don't
yeah.
care about politics. They don't care about that stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Like Christian said earlier, they lost their identity. Now they've kind of overstepped. They're getting themselves involved in stuff that their target audience, which is parents and kids. I mean, what parent wants their kid, to say, "Oh, mom, why is the governor mad at Disney?" Like, what? Who? That's not even. It's like, no, I want you to ask, like, if I wish upon a star, will it come? And be like, that's the questions you want to get from your child being influenced or invested in Disney. Like, is it true that if I wish upon a star, it might come true? Like those, and not like two boys can kiss, and it's like, Jesus Christ, bro.
I feel like Disney Plus is where they just dump their straight to Blu-ray stuff. Like before, there was a straight to VHS content.
Yeah.
They have.
Yeah.
Like they've just adjusted the medium to gain money from subscribers, which I
Yeah.
don't think would be a good model for them to do. And it's not profitable unless you keep adding on subscribers. And there's only a limited amount of people in the world that would subscribe to you, right?
Yeah.
And if you piss off 50% of them, that's a huge loss.
Well, they have lost a ton. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose even more. Because it's not like, other than Loki, and even that, I don't feel like is going to have that much of a change on their subscriber count. There's not much to look forward to. Maybe Guardians coming out on Disney Plus. I'm trying to think of stuff like that could maybe drive subscriber growth for them, but it's like what? Other than Loki and maybe Secret Wars, right? Isn't the MCU show Secret Wars coming out too? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. As Christian said, it feels like homework. You know? And I think that's a great way of putting it because people are so used to going to the movies and experiencing the MCU in the theater. Now we have to sit down and consume this show on Disney Plus. It's a lot to ask for. Especially for people who don't have the means to do that. And then they want to bump the price. I don't know.
And it's not even it's not like you have to go watch, an hour and a half, a 2-hour movie at the theater. Now, like you said, you're invested. This is 8 episodes.
Yeah, this is longer.
This is 8 hours of a story that you. I tried to watch Miss Marvel. I could not get into it for a couple of reasons. One, because I'm not a teenage girl. Just couldn't really relate. I mean, I'm also, I love Spider-Man. I'm not a teenage boy, but I was at one point a teenage boy. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. I just can't. I tried, man. I really tried.
I didn't finish it either. I watched I think 4 or 5 episodes. I think up to the point where she got her powers or
me too,
started showing her powers.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against the show. I thought the show was good. Similar to you, it's like I couldn't connect with the characters, and I just didn't think it was good. I just didn't think it was funny. I just didn't have all the stuff. It was trying to be funny, and it was cringe almost.
And as we usually bring up, maybe it's just a generational thing.
I think so.
There are different situations in that show, particularly that we never actually can relate to.
Well, I mean,
the way they're doing. Good.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Disney will bounce back when whoever it is, they're, like you said, generational gap, right? So the generation that they are now, adhering to or whatever, once they grow up and they have to pay for their own Disney Plus and mom and dad's not paying for it, maybe they'll bounce back. But
get
right
some
now,
subscribers.
Once they become,
does Disney, does Disney have a couple of movies and series that are still in pre-production right now?
Oh, I have no idea.
That would suffer the writer's strike.
Deadpool is in pre-production, I think.
Deadpool, that I like. I can watch. Yeah,
I'm trying to think. I can't think off the top of my head.
I'm much more worried about that movie now because of the writer's strike.
What I was gonna say was what they're doing with Star Wars, I think, is probably the best model, right? Like they have 1 or 2 shows, maybe 1 or 2 shows a year, and then a movie a year. That I think is perfect because you're not asking for too much. Whereas with the MCU, you have 3, 4, maybe even 5 sometimes movies a year, plus a ton of shows that you can't even keep count of.
Right.
It's like asking people for a lot. Whereas Star Wars, I think, has a better, I don't know, modus operandi of how they're doing things with just dropping just very limited content, but it's still pretty good. Granted, I didn't really like the season finale as it were, with the recent season 3 of Mando, but it was still good. It was still like worth the watch, right?
Mhm.
Whereas, like as you said, Miss Marvel, all these different, we can name all, even WandaVision. For me, it was fun, but I just didn't feel satisfied in the end. So yeah, what do you guys think that to write this ship? What do you think Disney has to do beyond just making good or better content? What do you think? How do you think Disney needs to approach the situation?
Uh,
In all honesty, at this point, I don't know because they've invested a lot of money into their stance right now and what they're doing. Like with the incoming writer strike, like for example, Disney now owns Deadpool, right?
Yeah,
Like I said, I'm much more fearful for that movie right now as that happens because I think Ryan Reynolds actually wrote it.
and Fantastic Four. Now that
And
now that you mentioned that, Fantastic Four came to my head too. They are working on that, right?
so
That's I don't know if that's in
I
pre-production,
think
but
Ryan Reynolds is actually credited as writer, so he's a member of the Writers Guild.
yeah.
If that movie actually needs a rewrite, he can't actually do it. So there's
Yeah.
no guarantee
Same thing
that
going on with Andor season 2, right? Tony Gilroy can't add his input to any of the on on set stuff. So if they need to
this
change something like in the middle of making it, they're screwed.
they
So
just
similarly,
I don't think the subscribers is gonna be an issue. They just need to remember that they're here to entertain. That's their main niche.
yeah, and I think we need to remember that it's Disney, and it would take a lot of loss for them to,
Yeah.
for anything like we say billions, and like, oh yeah, they lost,
yeah, it's not like they're losing money. Well, I mean, they are losing money for sure.
yeah, but
But
I
it's not
don't
like they're
think
going to lose their spot on top or
right, yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're yeah, in layman terms, right? They say, oh shit, they losing a lot of money, but in Disney terms, it's like not a good
We'll
quarter.
make that back in the next MCU movie.
Yeah, yeah. Thank God we have Deadpool coming up. Yeah. So,
Well, I will say, I think the next movie to come out for the MCU is the Miss Marvel or the Marvels.
the
I
Marvel.
think.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the next movie. There's Loki season 2. There's Secret Wars, the show, and then there's the Marvel movie. And then Deadpool, I think, comes after that. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Deadpool is like next on the list for next year.
Right, right, right.
But yeah,
Well, I
speaking
think
of,
yeah.
huh?
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna go into the next topic. Blue Sky.
Okay. Second topic is we went so long with the MC.
We could talk about that for days.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think pretty much everyone could actually talk about it. It's been
Well, it's because
running
we're
for
passionate about it, right? Like these are characters, like you said, Spider-Man, the Christian. What's your
Yeah.
favorite superhero? Like these are people that we care about, right? That don't exist. They don't even exist, but we care about them.
hero isn't even Marvel. It's actually DC. It's Batman.
Oh,
Really?
fair enough.
Yeah. All right. All right. I'm personally a fan of Doctor Strange. I think he comes from a really cool place, like with the 70s aesthetic and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, huge fan of Doctor Strange, but yeah. See, but that speaks right to you, right? Like, I mean, especially with recent Batman movies haven't been good.
Yeah, who knows? The ones who actually unsubscribed might have felt the same way, like the three of us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if there's one remake that I want to see, it's Spawn. Like, please get me some new Spawn.
Mm. That's not a character you hear very often.
No, and he stays on my, cause like I said, I have HBO. The 3 Spawn movies, they stay in my list to watch. Like other things, like put it on the list to watch, whatever. Then I remove it after I watch it. Spawn doesn't get removed; it just stays there.
Well, if the new Mortal Kombat movie actually does well, we might
Ah.
see what.
That's a
I
heartbreaking thing for me, man. In my whole life of nostalgia and everything, the cartoon was pretty good. The Mortal Kombat cartoon was pretty good. I think it was on like USA or something network back in the day. I don't know, but I like the
I
cartoon. But it's
I
such
haven't
a
really been
bummer.
invested in that.
Yeah.
I don't like the game. I don't like Mortal Kombat the game, and I think I saw the recent movie, and I thought the recent movie was pretty good. Um, I don't know when it came out, maybe last year. It was like very corny and very like
Yeah, they can't
like you're
get
supposed
past
to
the
suspend
cringe.
your disbelief. You're supposed to be like, all right, this
Mm.
is supposed to be campy. This is supposed to be like shot. We're supposed to be shot. You know what I mean?
But there's so much potential there for, or maybe it's just my wishful thinking. As I love the game since, since Super Nintendo, like I loved it. Um,
Damn.
I had it all the way up until I remember when they went 4D with the. I don't remember which one it was now though, but I had all of them, like the three. But anyway, yeah. So I've always wanted, like the first Mortal Kombat movie. I was so excited to go watch it, and then like when Reptile came out, I was like, oh, and then he did. It was all so great. But now, I mean, that's been 20 years ago, I guess, and it's like, why can't I get a good Mortal Kombat movie?
One day.
Why can't I get a good Mortal Kombat series? Like, what?
Yeah.
Who is dropping the ball on this shit? Maybe there's no market. Maybe
Leadership.
there's like a handful of us from southeastern Kentucky that loves Mortal Kombat. But I'm telling you, it's so good. I want to see this shit happen.
Yeah, I think we pretty much mentioned all the streaming platforms, right? The HBO, Disney Plus, Netflix. Shout out to Roku, who is still keeping themselves free for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel they
Yeah.
rarely get mentioned.
I actually have a Roku TV, but I never really used the Roku channel per se. But I do know that Westworld's on there now, so good for them for that. Good for them for that.
That's good news. Well, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us for Tech Times Movie Talk. Our next topic is Blue Sky, which is a decentralized take by former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey on Twitter, recently made its client software open source and accessible to all via GitHub. Dorsey, back in April, blamed himself for centralized internet and that he misses the early days of the web with IRC protocols and emails with PGP being the main channel of communication. Ryan, do you think the impact of Blue Sky will be enough for a reset? And is the centralized internet here to stay?
Um, no, no. I think Blue Sky, like most of these new social media platforms, is just going to be a fad. Maybe it'll stick around a bit longer than most, but I don't think that it's going to shake up too much in the I guess the social media ecosystem, as it were. But I do see a lot of hype, or maybe even just maybe not hype, but interest, I should say, on Twitter itself. A lot of people, and when you see people drop a code, because to even have access to Blue Sky, you need a code. I see a lot of people like commenting on posts like, "Oh, like I love Blue Sky, this and that," and it's great. But it's like there's already Twitter, like there's already Reddit, there's already YouTube comment section. I mean, there's like so many different places for us to get the, I guess, the general vibe of how people feel, for whatever it be. That's usually what I use Twitter for, is to see maybe a new game comes out. I want to see what people think about the new game, right? Or a new
Yeah.
show. We already have avenues to figure that stuff out. Like I said, Twitter, stuff like that. So I don't think Blue Sky is going to be too much. And it also feels a bit like I don't know, cool kids corner. Right? Like I hate that kind of stuff. And that it just turns me off. It automatically turns me off. So especially going back to when Twitter had the check marks, the blue check marks, also felt like, oh, you weren't a part of the club, you don't have a blue check mark. Similar kind of mentality. I don't know if other people feel the same with that, but yeah, and centralized internet's gonna stay forever. I mean, it's always gonna have some sort of different sections of stuff. I don't think decentralized internet is gonna be you know, I don't know. We've been talking about Web3 and all this stuff, metaverse stuff, for a long time. Even before its big, blow up last year. It's not coming anytime fast.
I mean, to go from, if we went from centralized to decentralized, wouldn't that be kind of a what's it called? Like a devolvement, right? Like we've evolved into this centralized internet. Like, why would you know, go back to something that obviously
Well,
wasn't
the
what everybody wanted.
decentralization would essentially ensure that no one person, whether it be Mark Zuckerberg or I don't know Tim Sweeney or whatever,
Mm,
has control over a certain platform. So it has some incentive. It has some
mm.
I don't know. There's some sort of necessity, I guess, baked into it to some people. But on the
Yeah,
outset, what's a
there is some merit to wanting it. Like I think Elon Musk is actually wanting to go back to a decentralized platform just so no one can actually just own it, being
yeah,
the majority.
yeah. Yeah, and I don't see the problem in that, right? I mean,
Mm,
that's where the big fears with the metaverse came in, where with Meta having this huge investment in the metaverse, people were very fearful that Mark Zuckerberg would have essentially, if not full control, primary control over the metaverse, as it were, the metaverse concept. And that can be scary. It could be scary. We don't really know what he would do with all that power, or if he even had that power, what would that entail? But obviously, going off of what we talked about with subscribers and stuff with Disney Plus, it would essentially mean that they could commodify or essentially make you pay to use the internet even more than you already do,
mm.
to have access to, you know, the Facebook equivalent of a decentralized internet. I don't know. It has some merit, yeah, but at the same time, uh, we pay for the Wi-Fi, and we don't really pay for much other than that. I mean, it's not like we pay Google to use Google.
Mm,
Um, so I don't know. There are a lot of different scary bits to that, but right now it's like it's not like we need it right now.
yeah.
Other than I guess if people are worried and concerned about privacy, I think that's a big thing right now. Is people concerned about privacy, but at the same time, it's like, what do you are you hiding stuff? Are either of you hiding stuff right now? Like
Well, I
that could
mean,
be detrimental to the state or something? Like no, like
yeah.
your own personal information, sure, but it's not like people are really trying to come after that. If anything, they're looking for your credit card numbers and stuff like that, which are easily, maybe not easily, but can be protected against the
Mm.
right software and stuff.
Yeah, feels kind of weird that Jack Dorsey, who looks like 5'11" Tyrion Lannister now, is thinking about blaming himself for this. Like, it was a good idea back then,
He's
but
he's like a
it
very
just
much like he reminds me a lot of Peter Thiel too. Peter Thiel, they're very much like these big tech just people. Like when you bring up tech, they're some of the first people you think about because they've made it like their identity. So yeah, he feels responsible to a degree with the Twitter situation, but it's not like what like because we have a better mode to talk with each other. I don't know, like what
Mm.
what is he I don't know, what's he worried about? I don't know.
Well, that's like the inventor of the hammer being sorry because someone got killed with a hammer. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
it serves a lot more purpose than just a weapon, right? It you know.
yeah. Mhm. And you know there's a big conversation about bots on Twitter.
Mm.
um it's conversations have been going on forever. is
yeah,
that
but
is that a problem that you can see? I don't know, is that a problem uh from using the platform? I don't, unless you're getting like bombarded with bot spam and stuff, like messages and stuff, and misinformation maybe in replies. Yeah, I don't know, and maybe even followers, like right. If people inflate their followers with bots, those are the main issues I think with Twitter is the with the bot thing. But other than that, it's like I don't see a problem just with Twitter alone. Him creating it is what I mean. I don't know.
yeah, but this one I think just provides the option for people that just want to hide in their own bunkers, right? They could just
Yeah. Then
have a
don't
license.
have Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't,
it's still a choice. I think people keep forgetting that these social media platforms is their choice.
yeah, yeah. Blue Sky, the whole interface too doesn't really appeal. Like it doesn't look appealing. It's just not there yet. It feels like such a. it literally looks like Twitter almost. It's just like a ripoff almost, and obviously that's the point. That's that's what it's essentially trying to be. But is it a necessary addition to the social media that I already use? I don't think so. Especially for the fact that when you join Blue Sky, you're essentially starting from scratch.
Mm,
You don't really know who else is on the platform. So say you want to follow, I don't know, MKHB, right? Uh, and he's not on it, or he probably is, but besides the point, right? There's definitely certain people that you won't be able to follow, certain circles that you won't be able to interact with, and yeah, I mean, even for so we had talked about platforms like what was it, Rumble, and Parlor, these different, very much right leaning platforms. They're not going to have the same types of people that you want to follow. Maybe you want to follow. Essentially, it's an echo chamber, right?
mm.
Essentially,
Yeah,
Blue Sky from the outset for right now, it looks to me like an echo chamber, and that's always just terrible. Terrible for your mental. Terrible for just growth in general.
but that's kind of what they
Yeah,
had at Twitter, right?
yeah, but at least I can still get content from both right and the left.
Right.
You know, sure, it'll be predominantly the left on Twitter, maybe not all the time, but maybe. But at least both circles exist there. At least both conversations can be had.
Yeah, it's I think it's a I don't even like the name really. Like Twitter is at least, you know what I'm saying? Twitter is something that was never a thing. Like it was introduced into the lexicon, right? Twitter.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what a tweet was. Uh
Yeah.
I
Blue
remember I
When
never
it
Sky.
was
forget
actually
joining
started, no one actually liked the name
in in
for Twitter.
2000. I think it was 11, or maybe I can check. But in 2011, my friend, we were having like lunch. My friend was like, "Hey," and I'm like I'm like almost graduate. So I graduated high school in 2012. So this is like right. This is my junior year. And my friend was like, "Hey, there's this new cool app called Twitter. You can like talk to people. You can like essentially like give your thoughts." And I joined it on a whim, not really realizing the impact it would have later in life.
Hmm.
So much so to like even certain like with certain jobs. I mean, not in my line of work, but in other people's line of work, they had to be really careful with the type of things that they retweeted. Even said, obviously, sure, but even the stuff that they retweeted could be cause for grounds for dismissal, whatever it be.
Hmm.
Twitter, people, people, I feel like even today, people forget, or people kind of miss the fact that like how much power they put on Twitter. Does that make sense? Like Twitter itself doesn't have that much power, I feel like, but it's the it's the way we created it. It's like it's we literally we have designed Twitter to have this more power, if that makes
Right.
sense.
The power's been
Um
bestowed up on Twitter.
mhm. Yeah, I can't find the right words right now, but
Yeah.
essentially, Twitter has so much power, and it's all just been artificially created over the years.
Mhm.
And it's just interesting to me just how much it's impacted our lives. And it's all it is. It's just a few words on a site, right? And it's all it
Right.
is. Um, yeah, I think Blue Sky is interesting in the fact that it can be a different place for some people to feel like they can express their feelings without being mm, you know, I don't know, yelled at. But it's not like it's gonna stay like that forever.
Right. But do you think this is like
Yeah.
the beginning of because right now, especially in the US and maybe in the world, I don't even know really at this point. Everything is so polarized.
Mhm.
Um like I just feel like obviously there's a market, right? Whether you
Yeah.
believe these things or you think these things, and okay, let's all meet here, Blue Sky, where there's no descending or dissenting opinions. It's, like you said, it's an echo chamber. Uh,
And
Twitter,
I
where
say that
I'm
from
at.
the outside looking in. Like I don't.
Right.
Maybe there is. Yeah. Maybe there are GOP or
Well,
whatever.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you have Truth, right? Truth Social, which is
Yeah.
basically all conservatives. You're not going to find a liberal on
Mhm.
Truth Social. If you do find it, they're going to be in like spy mode. They're not. They're not there. They're not there to interact or debate. Um, so, and I think maybe, uh, with the restructuring of Twitter, they kind of that safe space for people was disrupted. So now you have like Twitter. It's kind of like maybe the middle ground, and then you have like potentially Bluesky and Truth, where which I think is great, because if you can't handle debate, then please go over there and where no one debates you. If you can and are willing to and are open to a healthy, civil debate, then there should be a place where that can happen.
And that's the problem nowadays. It's not necessarily a debate as it is just a all out war. Verbal fight. It's not. That's the thing. Like, we can have debates all day, but nowadays I feel like debates turn into just like, I don't know, go kill yourself, essentially, right? Like,
yeah. It's like, you're an idiot. You're wrong. You don't deserve an opinion. That crazy stuff.
Yeah, to me, it wouldn't matter if it's decentralized or centralized, as long as context and judgment isn't an elective in college.
Yeah, and so long as thought isn't thrown out the door. Free thought, 1984 really taught us something with the thought police. And it's scary nowadays because like it's kind of coming to fruition. People, you say something on Twitter and all of a sudden you have the thought police saying, no, you can't have that thought. Like, sure, and going back to my conversation last week, sure, there are definitely thoughts that you can't have or shouldn't repeat. But at the same time, you should at least be able to say what you feel, right, without having to be shot down or told that your ideas don't mean anything.
Right.
Sometimes they really don't.
Because I mean,
that's okay, and that's okay. We
all have those thoughts, right? Like, it's whether or not you act on them. Like, I don't know. I've seen a kid eating ice cream before and just think like, I should just take that kid's ice cream and eat it, and then just give it back to him, right? Like, I just take a bite and then like give it back.
That's why it's called a thought, not an action.
Exactly.
Like, it's a thought. Like, it's like, and half the time you don't even have really a say or you don't really have a control. It's just a thought that comes in your head. It's not necessarily like coming from your own conscience.
Yeah, like, how funny would it be if? Or how pissed off would this guy be if?
Any of you guys planning on joining Bluesky?
No.
It sounds like a bad 1990s rom-com. Like,
starring
after this conversation, I feel like I should just for the sheer fact that like I should be on it or have a profile there. Even though if I probably will never use it, but it's just for me, it just adds a whole. This is just like another thing that I have to go do. Why? Like, even Twitter, even for Twitter right now, currently, like even on the weekends, I'm not going to Twitter and hanging out on Twitter, and I barely do it really on the weekdays.
IRC era. Anyone actually remember what kind of discussions were being made during that
You had
time?
mentioned this before the show. I don't know what the IRC era. I don't know what that even is.
Usually, everything discussion actually starts with just introduction and getting to know people. Like, it's very, at least where I'm from, it was actually very limited back then. I don't believe a lot of opinions are actually pushing through because you're just talking within your own group.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really do that.
As far as anonymity is concerned, I think you're much more anonymous back then than now.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's
it offers you a chance to provide online profile. Before, I don't think it has.
The internet has pervaded our lives like almost, I don't know, fourfold since I was a child. We use the internet for literally everything now. And it honestly, if we lost the internet for if it just stopped working, we would be screwed. We would all be screwed for sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the internet controls our lives in so many like vast ways. It's and going from centralized to decentralized probably won't be that much of a jump or that much of a leap. Like, it's going to take some time. It's going to take several years before we can inch in. And it's not like we're just gonna drop the internet that we already know. There will be a centralized version and a decentralized version, right?
Yeah, so for our next topic, the latest artificial intelligence and immersive technologies have captured the attention of world leaders at the G7 summit in Hiroshima, Japan. Recognizing the pressing need for effective governance, these leaders have committed to a series of discussions aimed at shaping policies in this rapidly evolving field, which they dubbed the Hiroshima AI process. Chris, do you think the US would be taking a lead in this in spite of major tech players already evolving and integrating AI into their technologies?
Do I think the U.S. would take the lead? Yeah.
Hmm.
Will it make a difference? Probably not.
Hmm.
Major tech players already evolving, and yeah, I think at this point, man, we've become so globalized and so interconnected and intertwined via, like Ryan was saying earlier, the internet's it's everything now. It doesn't matter who takes the lead. AI is here to stay, regardless of pushback or it doesn't matter who makes a great point against it. It's not going anywhere. The governance maybe is important, but other than that, yeah, we're just gonna
I
see
think
it more and more often.
I think on paper, the US will be the most stringent or maybe the most forward thinking, I guess, when it comes to it. But I don't know if we'll be the ones actually putting in place actual, you know, I don't know, replacements or what's the word? I don't even know how to describe it. Like, there's no way that the US is actually going to, I don't know, stop OpenAI, for instance, right?
Mm.
From making their chatbot even more powerful. Like, there's just, I don't see the US doing that, but I do see other countries like maybe China, like actually,
Mm.
cutting businesses out of whatever it be, profits or even just technical innovation, uh, just to ensure that AI doesn't go out of whack, as it were. Uh, but I think it depends on the situation. Because again, like everyone wants to say artificial intelligence is so scary, but it's very powerful. It's definitely come a long way since what we know, but it's still just a tool right now. It has no
Mm.
free thought yet. Like there's other than the fact that it actually is going to be stealing jobs for sure, writers and
Mm.
stuff like that. I've talked about this before, but BuzzFeed, I think even CNET both leverage AI for articles now. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure CNET and BuzzFeed both do that, and that I think is very unethical. Um, even if you're saying it's AI, even if you're outright saying, "Hey, this is artificial intelligence," I think it's wrong. I can definitely see it starting to pervade like Hollywood, maybe even animation. I
Mm.
know some Japanese studios have started to use artificial intelligence for that stuff. So yeah, I do think there are ways that it will affect our workforce. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. So long as like, okay, so long as if AI becomes powerful enough to actually aid us, that we can, as a government, the US will say, or whatever, Japanese government can aid its citizens in the face of that, right?
Mm.
Universal income, maybe that's something you have to actually bring up now that AI is such a thing. It's become a actual big player. Yeah, it's like there's definitely ways of maybe not limiting AI's reach or limiting AI's innovation, but also still aiding humans in the process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Italy has already made a move on this back in March.
What's
By
that?
uh Italy has already
Italy.
made a move on this
I think
uh, back in
Switzerland or
March.
Sweden.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
not even
some
the US leading in this. Like, has the US even looked into regulations for AI?
aside from this
Like,
G7 summit, I don't think
yeah,
so.
like everything, every news regarding at least pulling back on this was from the companies that actually use it.
There are definitely different subsets of like groups or I guess just people in general, scientists, thought leaders, stuff like that are like Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a huge proponent of limiting AI's reach. but how much will that actually affect AI as a whole? I mean, talking about it helps, but actually doing stuff and putting in place, I don't know, certain parameters, maybe even starting like I don't even know, like starting a different, like a different, I don't even know how to explain it, but policing for AI, like I don't even know how you would go about it is my thing. Like, how would you even go about limiting AI's potential reach? It's just like I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, are there certain protocols that they could put in place? Or are there certain ways that they can? I don't know. Like maybe I don't know. I'm just thinking like
It it's kind of hard to think that they would do protocols right now
yeah,
when every company is actually like Google and Apple are looking to AI. I find it
that's
weird
the
that the
thing.
US government hasn't looked into building regulations regarding this, or at least a bit of oversight. Like these will be commercial companies marketing products built with AI. And what's the extent of the use for this?
Well,
Like we've
to
already know that. Well, anyway, we'll be talking about this later. But just in passing, writers will be actually be uh affected by this,
yeah,
right? That's just
yeah.
one industry, and
What
this could
about
actually spin off into others.
what about uh how effective do you think an AI tax would be?
Like the one that we have for the carbon
Yeah.
AI
to offset the
tax.
use of
Yeah, an
AI.
AI tax. Like if a company wants to use AI to make whatever it is.
That's a good way. I don't know if it'd be effective.
Mm,
Uh, it might limit. I don't know. It might limit how much how much of a I don't know pool of interest they'll put into
mm,
AI. But like my thing is, it's like when it becomes I don't know too smart, too out like I don't know. Like there's just like certain ways that they could maybe implement. But then again, it's all theoretical.
right,
This is
yeah.
all
That's
theoretical still. So it's like how would you even go about it is my thing. It's like, what are you saying that you have someone that's not in the so OpenAI, for instance, right? Let's just talk about OpenAI, for instance. Are you going to put someone that's like a governmental personnel, someone like in OpenAI? Are they going to have full access to everything? I just don't see that happening. I don't see that being a thing, you know?
mm,
Especially when it's an international company, when it's internationally owned or not doesn't have its base in the US or wherever. It's hard to really even regulate that. It's hard to even regulate AI in
right.
that sense.
Yeah, if we equate it to the carbon tax, I think it's pretty much easier to do it for the carbon tax because everyone knows what's actually involved in this. AI is pretty good at masking itself and hiding that it's being
Yeah,
used.
yeah,
What kind of
and that
product are we
and
going to
that's
be taxing? Is it an
and
annual
that's the other
basis
thing.
per use?
Artificial intelligence gets smarter no matter what. Like
Mm,
the inputs that we put in, it's getting smarter no matter what. So designing something that would limit it just doesn't make sense to me because it's getting smarter by the day. It's
mm,
getting more powerful by the day. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's such a interesting topic, but at the same time, still like we're still so far away from what people are so fearful about. I think we still have a long road ahead before artificial intelligence is actually that superior, right?
mm.
Because it's still just a tool that we use. When it becomes a point where like people actually start losing their jobs daily, regularly, um, I mean, this conversation was coming up back when factories were a thing, right? When
Mm,
Ford was doing the assembly line, when robots started getting involved. Like this conversation has been going on forever, and we're just gonna have to start to learn to live with AI. It's just gonna be a thing that we have to live with. I don't think
We
there's
also
any way possible for us to create protocols to create ways of limiting its implementation. It's I
mm.
don't know, it's spread. There's just no I don't know.
and we also have to consider we're only talking about Chat GPT here. A couple of companies are actually building their own. So that's a brand new set of rules because it's a brand new set of codes
Yeah, yeah,
on what they can do. So
yeah.
it is kind of hard. Like I think the way that countries can do now is just limit the way it progresses. And find ways for the industry to actually catch up when it comes to regulations. Like
But does that
inch
start
by
with the company, or does that start with the government? Does that start with the local government? Like, so OpenAI,
there's
say they're
also the
headquartered in Kentucky. Does the state of
yeah,
Kentucky do that, or is it a federal thing? Like, there's so
Mm.
many different questions that could be brought up with that. It's like, and then like, does if it does come a point where they have to limit something, will that get in the way of their business? Is that go against the US Constitution in some ways? There's so many different ways that they can just mess stuff up. When
yeah, we have
again,
to
artificial
understand
intelligence
the
is going to get
different
smarter no matter what.
yeah, there are also different applications. If it's in the medical field, should we limit them?
Or in because okay, so Nvidia just announced recently a new partnership with ServiceNow or something like that
Yeah.
to create a enterprise level artificial intelligence, essentially to make data sets, make enterprise stuff, enterprise solutions swifter and more streamlined. Will that become a problem? What if that becomes even more, what if it spits out the wrong data? I mean, what if accounting firms get the wrong numbers? What if Nvidia finds a way to, and it's totally hypothetical, it probably will never happen, but what if Nvidia finds a way to mess with their numbers or another company's numbers, the AI messes stuff up, and they start their own Ponzi scheme unknowingly, right? I don't know. There's ton of different ways that AI can actually go wrong. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just like,
is AI the new climate change? Like I
yeah,
remember climate change was
Yeah, and
brought up a lot of
probably much more dangerous. But
at least
yeah,
climate change are targeted to just one thing. AI spans a lot of applications. It
yes.
there's no benefit to climate change, but there is benefit to use of AI.
I got a I got an email maybe like 2 weeks ago about this company putting artificial intelligence in shoes, essentially to, like Nike, right? Like it's not Nike, but like Nike does with its application, right? To see how much you walk or this and that and the third, right? It's coming for our shoes. Like it's going everywhere. Artificial intelligence is going to be in everything, right? From
mm,
from our shoes to the shampoo we use. Like
mm.
it's going to be in everything, like, for sure.
I thought this
It's not
was
going
an
to
AI
stop.
to tell you that when your shoelaces are untied.
Yeah. No, not even. It ties it for him. What do you mean?
Yeah, Nike. Yeah, that's also part of the medical field, right? In terms of that
Yes, of course.
medical
Hmm.
use.
Yeah.
So it is beneficial. It's hard to provide oversight with something with that significant of a benefit, but there needs to be a transition to it. Like
Yeah.
just using Chat GPT as an example, the progress or evolution of it has been so fast. I kind of feel we've been talking about it for just more than a year now,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
already progressed this way.
Well,
So
I
what
think
more?
when go on, I'm
Yeah, what
sorry.
more the coming years?
When it comes to especially like the WGA stuff, the WGA strike, and I think where they're coming from is more so the streaming sites not really giving them the credit or the satisfaction that, like we had talked about it earlier with Disney Plus pulling their shows off their site and stuff. I think it's not so much I mean, sure, AI has a lot to do with it, but I think it's more so the fact that the writers don't feel like they're being accurately respected or accurately paid even. And it definitely shows, especially now with, as I said, with CNET and stuff like that, actually using AI. Um, Even for edits, even for rewrites, we can probably see ChatGPT being leveraged a ton. And as a writer myself, that scares the hell out of me. But maybe it's time that we kind of move on. Maybe it's time that we evolve. Like maybe we have to find new avenues for, I don't know, creating. I've said this before. AI has no real imagination or innovation in that sense. Like when it comes to writing or creating something, like you're not going to get amazing story out of AI, but What you can use it for is maybe fixing stuff, like I don't know, badly worded sentences and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
it has its uses, but overall, do I think it's gonna, I don't know, change the world, change the way we look at TV, film, stuff like that? I hope not. I really hope not. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Mm.
people will just be content in using it like Grammarly on crack. So
Yeah. Yeah. But that leads us into another conversation about essentially global the global reach of AI. Uh, the G7 leaders recognize urgent need for governing AI.
yeah,
Scary.
our very last topic for today. Amidst the ongoing strike by the Writers Guild of America, the idea of utilizing artificial intelligence to replace human writers has ignited a fiery debate within the industry. The WGA has expressed reservations regarding the use of AI in the writing process, advocating for AI models to be employed as tools rather than as creators of final products. Ryan, do you think a compromise will be reached regarding this?
No, that's it. We can end. We can end the podcast now.
Yep.
Okay. No, that's no. See, as I was saying before, I think AI is just going to be used no matter what, whether we like it or not. Do I think that they'll come to a compromise? Probably, yeah. They're going to have to, especially
Hmm.
if they want their shows to go back, because I know a lot of these shows are being kind of postponed and stuff like that. We had mentioned Deadpool, like I had mentioned Andor earlier. Tony Gilroy can't. They can still film, they can still do all this stuff, but they can't add notes. They can't change things on the fly. So we're gonna see a lot of different shows come out. Even SNL, I don't think, is on anymore. But yeah, I mean, it's the thing with the writing. People are gonna use AI for the writing all the time. That's just what's gonna happen. Uh, but I think they're gonna have to find a way. These streamers, these like Netflix, Disney Plus, they're gonna have to find a way to make well with the writers so that they can feel like they're at home again. Because right now they don't feel like they're respected. They don't feel like they don't need them, right? I mean,
Hmm.
if AI can essentially just do the work for them, what's the point?
So is a strike even a good idea? If you feel that way, it's like I don't think you need me, therefore I'm not going to show up.
Like your good
I think
friend
so.
Carly Palestina from N-Stars actually did a deep dive on it this week, and she made a good point regarding it that some of these writers are actually just now realizing that there are certain rules in the streaming game, like for instance for Netflix, rules that were implemented back when streaming wasn't actually that big of a deal, are kind of antiquated right now when it comes to how they treat their writers. So I think that's one aspect that they need to delve in. AI is a major part in it. Like I
That's the
think there's a way that it could just be seen as a tool, but we can't actually ignore the fact that that tool can actually provide 100% of the work.
I think that's the biggest issue is AI is going to be used. It's going to be used no matter what. And the problem is, as I said before, there's no imagination or creativity behind it. So using AI to replace the writers, to replace a screenwriter, won't be conducive. Like it just won't work. It won't work. But
Hmm.
using it to re-edit or fix stuff, that can probably be used. But even then, you have people that do that. You have writers that do that, that come in and fix stuff. So it's one of those weird pulls, like pulls and pushes. Like
Hmm.
there's I don't know how they would find a way to uh like make well. Just because AI is going to be used no matter what. So is like I don't know, like would they find a good balance? Maybe, but I think AI is going to be used no matter what. I think AI is just going to have this dominance, like the internet, and I don't think the writers will have really much of a say.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I mean,
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
have any of you actually tried asking, let's say, Chat GPT to create you a screenplay
oh
yeah,
yeah,
out of curiosity? And the results are? Isn't that good?
Strange. I feel
This thing,
like
there's no like soul, you know?
yeah, right. The Chat GPT thing especially is very prompt based, right? Um, so it's kind of like it's almost like a puzzle trying to figure out exactly how to word what you expect it to give you, right? Like I tried to get a comic book, um, like a comic book type thing written by ChatGPT just for fun. And it would do it to a certain extent, but not really what I was looking for. So then I would have to like okay, so how do I say this? Yeah, I need please add dialogue and action sequence. Like I need these, and then it would do it again. But I mean, maybe if I played with it for a while or a couple days or maybe a month or so or something, then I could really get my skills as like prompting it the right way. Then yeah, but from my experience so far, it's just a little difficult to get what you
Yeah, we
want.
also have to put into consideration because the one thing I think is the issue with AI is going to be copyright. Like how
Hmm.
much of a percent do you actually own an intellectual property, let's say a screenplay, if 90% of it was done by an AI? Could you even say that it's actually original?
But I
No.
mean, AI takes from the internet, right? So
Yeah, it is.
it's
It
not original anyway.
Yeah, that's also a good point. Yeah.
So in terms of ownership, does the writer actually own the piece, or 100% is actually credit goes to the client?
I would say,
That's the thing. It's like I think it comes down to what AI you use in that sense. But even then you have a point. I mean, if they're paying for the AI, right? If they're paying for the service, you'd think that it would come down to the studio. So the studio owns the rights, I feel like. But even then, it's not really their thoughts. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
which brings us back
it's a scary
to the
discussion.
yeah, which brings us back to the hardship when it comes to regulating this thing, because we also have to delve into intellectual properties and copyrights.
Well,
So
just
that's
like the
another.
WGA strike, I had mentioned earlier that um, CNET has several articles up that used AI, and I believe some of the writers came together to CNET writers. Let's see. Yes, CNET workers. This was 5 days ago. CNET workers unionize as automated technology threatens our jobs. In quotes. So clearly, this conversation isn't just going to the screenwriters and stuff like that. It's also even in the internet space. I'll put it in the chat here for us. But I mean, even beyond just the screenwriters and even just everyday, I don't know, like movie people, like even beyond Hollywood, like it's still becoming a prevalent question and one that's as serious, like it's very serious. And I don't know how we could best combat it. I don't know how we could because again, AI is just going to be used no matter what, whether we like it or not. It's here and it's going to stay. We just have to find a way to live around it or essentially just kind of work around it. Um, we can't let it replace our writers or replace our humans, but we can use it to, I don't know, better society in some ways. Maybe make our lives a little better. I don't know. There's one thing that Ernest Hemingway always said that a writer doesn't write, they edit the most. And Hemingway used to edit his books and stuff 100 times, right?
Hmm.
Maybe we can limit the way that we edit now, but it still limits our human input. So human input is the most key thing because a lot of us, maybe not everybody, but a lot of us can spot when it's AI, right? It's pretty obvious, pretty
Yeah.
obvious. So that's the thing. Like you can use AI all you want, but I think if it's overused to a point, it becomes a little like, soulless. You know, it's obvious. So yeah, I mean, uh, do I think that they're gonna meet, or do I think that these studios are going to come to an agreement with the WGA? Yes. Will they stop using AI? No, no,
They'll just find a workaround for it, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Or unfortunately, it's going to be used. It's just there, and maybe it could be used less. And I don't know, but AI is just it's here to stay, and people are super invested in it. Maybe it loses its fire towards the end of the year, like the metaverse concept last year. But I don't see that. I feel like it's just like a big thing, and it's not just a fad.
Yeah. Well, I think this
Yeah,
is this is probably one of those chances where, or not a chance, but it's an opportunity for the rest of the world to see, because they're these people going on strike. Um, I mean, we get to see like what happens, what kind of compromise do they come to, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
it kind of sets the stage for the rest of us, writers and
yeah.
editors, and
we've
like,
already seen this before. Like everyone actually remembers the 2007 writer's strike.
I
But
was just about to mention that, Christian. And
but the
what
thing
was the do you remember what was the outcome? Like, because I remember that was a 4 or 5 months, maybe even
there was a
less.
compromise. Like they were actually fighting for a right to uh, everything is about money at that point. They want compensation that's fair. But I think this is the first time they're actually fighting against a common enemy, which
mm,
isn't actually the
Yeah.
corporation, it's actually technology. Like
Well,
I don't know if
not
you
that
could
money isn't
actually,
a question too, right? I mean,
yeah,
I'm
it
sure
is
money or compensation of
money
some kind is certainly
compensation.
on the table, but they do have a human problem with AI. There's a
Yeah,
problem there that certainly needs to be addressed for sure.
I feel like this
because I
is a
don't know
little
if you
more.
guys could. Yeah, go ahead.
This is a little more dire, right, for the writers. This is versus, hey, pay me more. This is please don't give my job to a robot.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, because we've already seen this kind of thing before with the telephone operators.
Mm,
An entire industry actually died.
yeah, well, I mean, it
Yeah.
happens, right? It happens. It comes with I always use the analogy of the last horse salesman in Detroit, right?
Yeah,
Like, sorry, bro, but we're changing, we're evolving. You're not going to sell as many horses, especially in Detroit, because we're bringing in the cars. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the
Yeah.
world will be a better place for it. It's one of those, it's one of those natural things that happens, and it's not going to change. After this, there'll be
Yeah.
something else. I mean, what happens when we're autonomous airplanes and then pilots are all of a sudden like, oh shit, I went to years and years of school and now I can't. Sorry, bro.
Well,
It's
hell,
called pressure.
even then, I mean, driverless cars,
Hmm.
that's a huge conversation right now. People are certainly expecting driverless cars to be a thing. But are you ready to just give up that front seat? Are you ready to just give up the wheel to artificial? No, like no
No,
shot, right? No
no.
one. I mean, maybe not no one, but for the most part, people aren't just ready to let go of the
Hmm.
driver wheel, as it were. Yet. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kind of feel this one when compared to the 2007 writer strike. I think this one would take much more longer because
Mhm.
there's an unknown factor in the mix, which is actually AI.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So we
No,
wish all of the writers on strike the best of luck.
yeah. With AI, it's such a vast and crazy topic that like we could go for days about this, right? I mean, we can go in circles. But yeah, that's been Tech Talks. It was great talking with you guys this weekend. I mean, I love these conversations, especially about AI. And AI is gonna keep evolving and we're gonna have to kind of stay in the lane. We're just having to exist with it. But
Yeah.
hope you guys have an awesome weekend and leave what you thought in the comment section below and drop us a like if you like the content. Yeah, that's been Tech Talks.
All right.
Bye, guys.
See you guys later.